Hey everybody, it's Peter, and this week we are talking about the 2024 Kawasaki all-terrain vehicles that have just shown up. We've been going through the side-by-sides, and we've been talking about the Teryx line in particular. So the Teryx line, we showed two earlier. They were the Teryx S and the Teryx 4S, and those are trail-oriented vehicles. This one is stepping things up quite a bit. So we've got the top-of-the-line Teryx KRX 1000 ES. So this is the top of the line version, and you can still kit it out from here the way you want with accessories. So what we're going to do in this review is talk about everything you get, including some of the things that you don't usually see just by taking a look at it. And we're going to talk about how you could sort of kit this up to be perfect for you if you wanted to make it even better than it already is. So I'm filming here right outside Kawasaki Way. Kawasaki Way is the amazing test track here at Jim Gilbert's Wheels and Deals. This is the #1 volume Kawasaki dealer in the country, and they have a test track so you can see what this is like out on the trails for yourself before you buy. It is amazing. All right, let's get going with this review. So let's just briefly set the stage for what this is, where it fits in the Kawasaki lineup. In the Kawasaki lineup, there's the mules. Mules can be used on the trail, but they are primarily focused on work. And they work very well for that, and there's all kinds of varieties of mules. And then there's the Teryx line, or some people call it the T-Rex line. That is the sport-oriented version. Now, the ones we looked at the previous couple days, they have a small bed, and in the two-passenger in particular, we talked about how that can be used for work. It can hold up to about 600 pounds or more, and in that bed, and has a dump bed, so that, although it's great for the trails, can be used for work. This one, less work focused for sure. This is about all-out performance and fun on the trail, and this thing really fits the bill. So what you end up with to start is just massive ground clearance, huge tires, incredible suspension travel, and this has an electronically controlled suspension. So we're not just going to talk about that, we're going to show you how that works in here. This top of the line also has a TFT display like the motorcycles, but it's larger. It's got a lot of things in here that set it up to be an absolutely amazing unit as is, but you can continue to add from here. So this little rubber piece in here, I've seen that taken out and have an LED light mounted right in there. So you can have extra lighting in there. You already have great LED lighting right here. The roof is a removable roof, so it's a Kawasaki quick release KQR roof. So if you want that on, you can have it on. If you want it off, you can take it off. Obviously, you can equip this with a winch. You can equip this with bigger bumpers, different kinds of things, all kinds of things you can do. But let's start by talking about the suspension here. We'll talk about what it is, and then we're going to move on to how it works a little bit later in the video. So when we show suspension on the screen like you're looking at right now, it's hard to get a sense of what this is and how big it is. So this is 18.6 inches of travel in the front, 21.1 inches of travel in the back. And for reference, the top of the line Teryx has about 10.7 in the front and 10 inches in the rear. So this is just absolutely massive suspension travel. And on the other Teryx, we talked about adjustable suspension. This is also adjustable, but it's electrically adjustable. So that allows you to really have some control. They use an electrically adjustable suspension for a lot of things in their motorcycles, a couple of them, like the Versys 1000 that we did a review on. And it's a very similar control. So what this does is allows you to set it sort of firm, medium, or soft, but it also is allowing it to be adaptive a little bit. As you jam on the brakes, it's going to sense when you're doing that. It'll keep it from diving a little bit. As you accelerate, it'll sense how you're doing that and keep it from squatting as much as it could. So it still has that natural movement of diving and squatting like you would expect in an off-road vehicle, but it can help limit that kind of thing based on your settings. So you can set it up to drive really smoothly in a soft setting, maybe a slower setting, or if you really get aggressive and want to go faster, you can bring it to a hard setting as well. So there's a soft, a normal, and a hard setting. So 3 different settings there to give you that ride. And again, the travel is absolutely immense. Now, as we step back out from there, you can see the wheels. So the wheels here, of course, are very large. They are also true beadlock. So this is not just style. These are true beadlock wheels, allowing you to air down if you want and keep those tires connected to your rig as you want. There's all kinds of reasons to air down, both for traction, for all kinds of things. But with the beadlock, it allows you to apply the power in four-wheel drive even, and not have those tires slip on that rim. So all of this is set up for true extreme off-roading. Let's take a look at the suspension in the back now. So instead of taking this shot close up over here, this 21.1 inch of travel, so that's wheel travel, suspension here, actually has an arm there connected all the way to the front. Let's just check where it is, all the way right to here. So that is your pivot point on the rear suspension, allowing you to take high speed runs at various obstacles without any issues whatsoever. So 21.1 inches of wheel travel, that's up and down, with a pivot point here that is also near the center of gravity of yourself, of your hips. Now, if you know anything about how your body judges balance, you do it from your hips. The center of your, your hips essentially are the center of your gravity. So the way this thing moves, the experience you get when riding it is, again, coordinated with your hip point on this vehicle because that suspension travel. So you can really kind of feel the balance of this vehicle from your hips, which gives it a more dynamic driving experience. The 21.1 inches of travel here with the piggyback shocks. Now, piggyback shocks are important because as this compresses and goes in and out, it's going to create some heat. As it does that, it's easier to put it up here to preserve your performance down here. So if the heat was all in here, you would end up with some static friction, so that's stiction they call it, as well as the heat, it would perform not as good. By moving everything to an external piggyback type shock, front and rear, this allows you to have really consistent performance no matter how hard you're driving it over on the trails. So really smart, high-end suspension, and again, still electronically controlled. So taking a look at the cargo bed, cargo area of this, you can see it is very high. I'm about 6 feet tall and it's coming up, easily past halfway on my body. So you have a very tall area, and that's really why it's not used for work. Once you get all this suspension travel, all this ground clearance, you're ending up with a cargo bed that is taller off the ground. So again, you can use this to do some work, but really this is about carrying your stuff out on the trails. You've got tie downs in 4 positions and it carries 351 pounds. So it's rated for 351 pounds, which really allows you to take everything you could need to take out on the trail right here in this section without any issues at all. You also have LED brake lights mounted nice and high, so no matter where you are, up or down, buried in mud, whatever, people behind you can see what you're doing if you're applying brake or if you're moving forward. And again, the water drainage here, you have these gaps in here which allow that water to come out. So any kind of splashing of mud or dirt or anything else, it can self-clean, it won't stay in there and soak everything you've got in there. You've got deep grooves in there. So again, not made for work, but with that 351 pound capacity, you can really take a lot of stuff. Some people will take an extra tire up here. Some people will take extra, just coolers and stuff you need for the day, but really capable of taking everything you need in a compact area. And the furthest piece back on this unit is not right here. It's not the bed. It is actually the tire. So you've got that amazing departure angle that allows you to go absolutely anywhere or back out of absolutely anything, in addition to being able to take all your stuff with you. So let's talk briefly about the powertrain in this vehicle. This is a 1000cc or 999cc V-twin engine that they like so much, they just recently for 2024 put it into some of the Mule products. So this is again a powerful engine that can be used for work. It's got all the torque you need for work, which means it is fantastic for the trail. What I like about it is these air intakes up here. They've got the dust filter on them, they've got other things, but having your air intake this high means that you can really get buried in all kinds of stuff and continue to crawl out. You don't have to worry about some of those things when you get into a deep hole or anything else. They've really designed this for fun. So the overall package is one of a great engine, even better suspension and setup than the engine itself, and the engine's very good, and then it's got a whole bunch of technology. Let's jump inside and check out the technology. So sitting here in the driver's environment, you've got a tilt steering wheel here, which has a nice pneumatic lift here. I do need 2 hands to really do this properly, so I could pull this and I can move it up or down, but I've got it nicely adjusted for that TFT display in front, which we're gonna show you in a second. Now the TFT display is exclusive to this top trim model. If you move down, you still have a very informative display, but it's not a TFT. We'll turn that on in a second here. And as we talk about things that you can add to this, you've got space for a stereo in this if you want. This is a little glove box up top, which sort of semi-seals there with a little bit of a gasket there, so you can keep some things in there. And then you got the handle over here. Now this is an adjustable handle. You can pull this piece down and you can bring this towards you to get extra space for your passenger to grip things. The other thing I like is you're not reaching over the outside of this door panel. You've got an automotive style door handle on the inside, you have an automotive style door handle on the outside as well, and the doors don't feel chintzy. The other thing to point out is these seats are excellent. You've got good side bolstering on the bottom and on the backs, and of course the headrest is there as well, and the headrest is set back far enough that you can wear a helmet and it's not an issue. So we got another side-by-side ripping out beside us here, so if you heard that noise, that's what was going on. All right, let's turn the key to the on position and we'll take a look at this TFT display. Now again, TFT displays are hard to film out here in the sunshine. It gives you a little warning to, like every other car that has a TFT display, and then that disappears. And then as we look at this, as it clears out here, let's just start it right up. All right, so we're gonna select OK, there we go. So this is your TFT display. Now it can be turned on the white mode or the dark mode. So you can switch invert the colors essentially there. You can see your gear indicator over here, your transmission temperature there. Your power is a full power right now. There's a low power mode and a full power mode, so F and L in there. If you want to dial it back for a newer rider, you can do that. You've got your odometer down there, water temperature as well, clock, and then the Kawasaki electronic control suspension is in the normal mode. We're going to show you that in a second. Fuel gauge right there. We're in two-wheel drive and the drive mode, right? So you've got an active tack. All of this is super easy to read and display, but let's just play with your suspension. So to do that, we go down over here. Let's just zoom all the way in, and you can see soft, normal, and firm. Now that is the dial that turns that right there to get that the suspension adjustment. So let's go back here and look at the dash. We're going to adjust it to the softer setting. You can see as it's adjusting down on the bottom right, it shows you right there, but there's another way to display this. So let's just play with that for a second and show you how that works. Down here is the selection menu. A little tough to see there in this bright sunlight, but selection menu is easier to see in person, I should point out. It's hard to film, but it's easy to see. So selection menu, this is how you're going to control the screen. So you're going to go to the menu here by selecting and returning, and then you're going to go up and down in the menus right there. So I'm going to return to the menu right here. We're going to scroll down to the suspension monitor, which just does that. We're going to select that there. And then you can see we brought it to our soft setting. So it's got a 10 position setting essentially there. Soft is number 2. And now we're going to bring that up. Oh, sorry, not going to do that. I'm going to adjust that dial switch to the normal position. You can see it goes to 5. And then you can dial it up to the firm position, which you can see brings it to number 8. So again, very, very simple to adjust the suspension. And a lot of people assume that you have to be in 4-wheel drive to do this. That's not true. You can be in 2-wheel drive and continue to adjust the suspension. And that allows you to just kind of hang the tail out and not have to be in normal or soft mode. You can bring it up to whatever mode you want to have some fun. You can see the power mode is right up there as well. So this is that Kawasaki electronic control suspension that works very, very well. It's super simple to use. So we're going to leave it back to the normal mode. We're going to go back over here. So what I'm doing here with the controls is I'm hitting return to go back. That brings me to this menu. Then I'm going to use the up-down arrows here. So up-down arrows over to the meter again, which is the gauges. We're going to select that, and it brings you back over here. So again, there's a lot more adjustment we can show in here. If there's things you want to know in there, feel free to let me know, and I'll absolutely show you that. I'm going to turn it off for a second now as we come down here. 2-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive, of course, in the 4-wheel drive lock mode. Let's see if we can see that a little clearer there. Yeah, there we go. 2-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive in the lock mode. Again, another dial switch right there. So you've got a different colored dial, a gray dial here, and more of a black dial there for your suspension and your 4-wheel drive, so you don't screw them up at a glance when you're looking at them out in the mud. Simple controls, easy to use. Down here, cup holders are there. What's interesting about this is you have low gear and high gear. They're actually inverted on the other Teryx models. So high gear is up top, low gear is here on the other Teryx, the more trail-oriented ones. You have, if I can show that there, low and high. Oh, having trouble showing that. But anyways, you also got reverse, and then you've got your parking brake back here. There are 2 more cup holders back there, even though there's no rear passengers. You can see those extra cup holders back there, and there is a little bit of space behind the seat. Let me just jump over here so I can see. Yeah, there we go. You've got space for easily sticking bags. I like to stick things like dry bags back there, but all the stuff that you would want to access easily while you're driving, you've got plenty of space behind the seat. And the seats, of course, are adjustable. So if you're taller or shorter, you can fit that in. Let's just show you the floorboard while we're here as well. If you take a look, the adjustable seat is right there. There's your lever to adjust it just like a regular car. And then you've got your floorboards there. Now, interestingly, these are essentially sealed off. In the other Teryx, there are some holes there that will allow the water to drain out, but they could also allow the water in. This has a cap to help drain it out. So dead pedal over here for the driver with the steel pedals there that are nice and durable. And you've got the dead pedal over there as well. I've got my helmet down there for right now. There's also a little glove box in behind there. So that's sort of your full interior tour. We should show you the quick release roof here. It's strapped on here with the Velcro, and then you also have other wing nut components. So you don't need tools to remove that roof. If you just want to take it off and throw it in your truck or something like that, when you've trailered it somewhere, you can absolutely change your mind about using it or not using it based on what you've got. So there is the overall look of this. Let's talk about who this unit is for. So who is this for? Well, first of all, like I said off the top, the Teryx line is a trail-capable, fun unit. Anything in that lineup is going to be fun. Now, of course, this one is often advertising the sand dunes of things like Arizona and that kind of thing. But here in New Brunswick, this is still fully trail capable. It is an absolute blast, and you can take it all kinds of areas off-road. Unlike a Jeep or something like that, this allows you to go high speed. If you look at the amount of suspension travel, the way it pivots back here, the way it's designed out front, the biggest difference between this and something that is like maybe a small used Jeep or even a current Jeep is that this can have a whole different kind of off-road experience. This is a blast to drive at higher speeds, taking it deeper down into holes and water and everything else, and coming out of it. This thing is lighter than a Jeep. It is absolutely more high-speed capable, and it really becomes something that is a blast to drive no matter what. If you want to take it slower speeds, you can do that. You can set it in the low power mode so you can keep it within a certain range. If you want to still drive it kind of harder, or if you're used to giving it a lot of throttle, you can lower that power mode, keep it on the trails. It's fully trail capable, trail legal. But like I said, when you head off the trails into the really deep stuff, this thing is an absolute blast. This thing can jump. There's all kinds of things you can do with this. And, you know, of course, advocating jumping, take safety into your own hands there. You got to be careful, but it's got the travel and that to give you an off-road experience that you just can't get from other side-by-sides or in the 4x4 automotive world, like something like a Jeep or a Bronco. So an absolute blast to drive. And then again, the technology of this with that adjustable suspension, that TFT display, you're really stepping things up. That Kawasaki electronic control suspension is really dialed in, and it will be perfect for whatever terrain you're on. And you can just set it for both the type of riding you want to do. If you just want to do something that's slower speed, you can soften it out. If you want to get aggressive, you can make it firm. But even if you want to sort of find that balance between, maybe you want a little softer when you're riding a little aggressive, you have the ability to just dial it in. You're not getting out and changing it on every wheel like you can with the lower level Teryx models that are a little bit more narrow and that kind of thing. So total control over your entire ride. And then of course there's that Kawasaki accessories that really allows you to turn this into whatever you want. This one comes as a complete base model. For me, I'd like to add a winch on it. There's a trail model below that has some pretty cool rock rails down here. They probably take a little bit of ground clearance or maybe a little bit of a departure angle away, but they come out here and they give you a little extra body protection there. Obviously you can add pieces like that. It just depends on what you want. There's all kinds of versions of this, and with the accessories, all kinds of accessories that you can add to make this any kind of unit that you want. And that's what makes it pretty cool. So that is my review of the very first 2024 KRX that we have here. If you want to know more, there are other models, other trim lines. Let me know in the comments below the types of things you want to know about these things, and I'll make sure I come back to you in future videos. And if you are anywhere near New Brunswick, Canada, make sure you swing by Jim Gilbert's Wheels and Deals. There's a 4-passenger version of this, and we just sold it yesterday. It arrived and went out the door pretty much the same day. That was the very first 2024 Kawasaki sold in Canada this year. It was here at a Jim Gilbert's Power Sports customer, and that makes sense. This is the #1 volume Kawasaki dealer in the country. It's an absolute great place. It's the best place to buy anything Kawasaki. So there you go, guys. Let me know in the comments what you think, and if you want to know more, and we'll talk to you again in the next one.